For this example, I'll be showing you how to reposition the sphere once it falls off of the stage. In my setup, I have my sphere, which has the player controller. I have my platform, and I have another platform residing slightly below it. This will be used to trigger the event, which will reposition the ball. Let's start there. I'll select the platform, which will be used to trigger the event, and we'll set it to trigger in its box collider. Now, there are two ways to do this. One way we could do this is we could set the ball's position to listen for when its Y position reaches a certain point and then reposition it back. But for this example, what we'll do is we'll use the trigger and we'll set the event in the OnTrigger for the ball to reposition itself when it is enters the trigger area. So we are going to write a new script by selecting the ball. We're going to go ahead and do add component. We'll create a new script. We'll call this set position. And remember, you do not want to use any spaces. This is a C# script. We'll go ahead and click create and add. Once that script is created, we can go ahead and open it up by right clicking. It's taking its time. There we go. Edit script. Visual Studio or MonoDevelop should pop up, or Sublime Text. You can do this in any number of text editors. Now, the first thing we want to do is we want to create a Vector3 variable that will set our starting position, and then we want to create the event, which will be the OnTrigger event, to listen for when we collide with the triggered object. And of course, we'll probably have to create a tag for that triggered object so that we can listen for that specific tag name. Okay, so this is not the script. The script should pop up somewhere. Here it is, set position. Alright, it's the correct script because the class name should coincide with the script name. After the class is declared, you'll see brackets, and everything within the brackets belongs to the class. Okay? This closing bracket at the bottom is the end of the class. Do not write any code outside of that bracket. We will begin by setting our mounts right after the opening bracket. We'll give ourselves a couple lines of space so we can declare some global variables. The first being the Vector3, and this is going to be our start point. And that's it. That's all you need to do for that. It's a Vector3 and it's a start point. Now let's think about what we want to do. We want to just transform our position. So this is all we really need for this to occur. The only other thing we need to do is set the start point to equal a new vector, no, not equal new Vector3, equal transform.position. Basically, it takes on the characteristics of our position. So wherever we are and when we start a game, the start points XYZ will be this here. Whatever this is, 0, 1, and 0. Okay, that's what that means. A Vector3 is basically 3 values. Instead of an integer being 1 value, it's 3 values. So start point is XYZ. It's not just one thing. In this instance, it's the transform position when we start. Alright, so the event we want to create is not the update. We're not checking every frame. We are checking only. So I got rid of the update function. I kept the last bracket because that belongs to the class. Remember, the first and the last should remain. After the start, we're going to type void, and this is an OnTriggerEnter, and we're checking for what type of trigger. We're doing a collider. So collider. Okay, this is the type of data we want to listen for or store information of, and the name of that data is going to be hit. Okay, collider hit. And then we do the brackets, and then we separate. Okay, so basically what's going to happen is if we enter a trigger zone, we're going to take some information about it using this data type. So the hit variable is going to collect data about what we collided with. And we're going to say if it's going to be hit dot game object game object dot compare tag. Might not be game object, we'll see. Hit dot game object compare tag, and then in here we want to do what tag we want to compare. Okay, so if we hit the game object, we're going to compare the tag, and if it comes back to be the hurt zones, so we'll put the respawn zone, and I'm actually going to copy this name because I'm going to use this as my tag name for that platform that's residing in the bottom, that's acting as our trigger enter. So if we hit the game object compare tag respawn zone, we are going to reposition ourselves. So transform.position. Remember, anything we're referring to ourselves because the script is on the ball. So we're talking about the ball's position here. Just like at this point, we created a variable that was equal to the ball's position. We didn't have to say this dot transform position. It knows what transform position to use based off of the script that it's on. So transform position is going to be equal to start position. There, start point. There it is, start point. And if the code is, looks like everything checks out. Let's just look at it one more time. Void OnTriggerEnter. We create a collider by the name of hit. If hit returns back the game object that is the tag of respawnZone, then we are going to do something, and that something is take our position of the ball and make it equal to the starting point, which was that variable we created at the start of our game. Save your work, and let's see if we can get this to function. But before we do, we have to do one more thing. The trigger platform, the platform that is doing the triggering, needs to be tagged. So we're going to select it, and we're going to come over here and we're going to add a new tag by clicking the add tag. This does not add the tag necessarily to the object, it just takes you to the tag and layer property where you can add a new tag to the tag list. The tag we're going to add is that respawn zone tag. I'm going to save my new tag. I'm going to then go back, select my platform, my hurt zone platform again, the one that resides on the bottom. And now we're going to select the tag list and we're going to assign it that new tag. So now it knows what its relationship should be. So if we run into the trigger, it should respawn. Let's play our game. And boom, there it is. Awesome. Awesome. So let's go this way. Excellent. Excellent. So let's review now one more time. And before we finish reviewing, let's also take off the mesh render of our trigger zone. Take that off. And now you can't even see. Just play. Once you fall, go back to where you're supposed to be. So let's just review the code one last time. Again, we begin with, let's close this up. We begin with our starting point variable, which is of data type of vector3. And in our starting function, we set that starting point variable to equal the ball's transform position, because remember the script is on the ball. And in our trigger enter event, we create a hit variable of data type collider, which is going to store all of this information about what we collide with. We ask that trigger enter zone, hey, did we collide, or did we trigger or enter a trigger zone that was of the tag respawn? If so, put our position back to the start. And that all occurs within the event of the trigger, and the entire class begins and ends with the opening bracket and closing bracket.